section on onboarding your team, right? People make it happen. That's how the words on paper really come to life. So making sure that you are orienting your team members to effectively and wholeheartedly really implement the proposed project and manage the grant award. So sharing with your team a copy of the proposal, everybody that's involved within your organization and even partnering organizations, they need to know why you're doing this work, why you've received the grant, and how much money is being used to support a proposed project or program or service. Identify what's needed, right? What sort of resources, capitals are needed to leverage and make the project happen, and really be clear about everyone's roles and kuleana, their responsibilities. Folks need to understand the North Star. What are we trying to achieve here? Who will do what, and how their contribution really fits in to make a difference and advance towards that goal. Keep everyone on track with calendars. They need to know what the activities are, the deliverables, most importantly, the deadline. If you have a year to spend the grant funding, or if there's an expectation that this is more long-term over a 2 or 3 year period, folks need to know. And so things like a spreadsheet or even a Gantt chart, identifying what will be done, how, and by when are critical. And then again, breaking all of this down into chunks. And again, that all depends on the duration of the grant, the breadth of the project, and setting up a task list to ensure accountability. Not sure what folks use, but there are simple ways to do this over Google Spreadsheet. There are also more fascinating tools online that are free or have a nominal fee, like things like Asana, Slack, and Todoist. But I find a simple spreadsheet is probably the easiest to do. And I'm just going to do a quick screen share on something that, let's see, Bob, Douglas, and I are actually involved in. We had written a proposal to USDA, and we're one of 13 municipalities around the country to be rewarded the Rural Placemaking Innovation Challenge. So yay, Hawaii County. Kauai also received an award, but we've got, Douglas, I don't know, how many of us are there on the team? 12, 15 folks across a couple of offices, my office and the recovery team. We're also pulling in individuals from various departments such as planning and public works and parks and recreation, mayor's office and water supply. And so there are also community members that are involved in helping to lead some of this work. So getting everybody on board and on the same page in terms of what are we doing, when are we doing it? I mentioned to you a Gantt chart. This is a Gantt chart that we use for the work that we told USDA that we would be doing in our work plan chart and proposal. And so this is getting everybody up to speed on just expecting to know when the work will take place. That sort of high level overview then was explained in more detail so that the team really understood why and what and how and what they were doing and by when. And so again, high level overview of what's happening in that Gantt chart, spelled out more clearly and explained here. We mentioned creating vision and guiding values as being an activity. Because there were county and community folks involved, everybody wanted to know, well, what exactly am I bringing to the table? And beyond this particular activity, folks want to know why. Why are we doing this? Why is it important? Why is it going to make a difference? And when you take the time to explain, this is where people really begin to buy into the project and really see how they are making a sizable difference. I also mentioned task lists, and this can easily be achieved in a spreadsheet. So this is something that we are using for our upcoming community event, Revitalize Puna. And this was something that had been refined when we first kicked off a series last year. So it's definitely been a work in progress, but very easy for everybody to access and understand who is leading what aspect of the event. There's a task description, the leads, supporting roles, deadlines, the status of the project, and also the notes where we are asking questions, sharing information, but also linking to any website URLs as well as collateral material. So that is something I just wanted to share with you folks to know that these systems are possible and can be shared and used across teams, across different agencies. Finally, the other tips, everything should be really simple. So simple and clear to understand. I think working in Google Drive is something that folks have had to come up to speed with. And I think we were all able to really rapidly do that because of the pandemic. This is a way that we were able to collaborate without being with each other. And so the pandemic helped in that regard. Um, why you also need to make sure things are clear and simple. Staffing changes. Somebody may go on vacation. They may transition to another job. Something may happen to them personally. And so you never want to be in a situation where the lead is gone and things fall apart. So making sure everybody is aware and can access all of those materials in the event of those situations. Setting up recurring meetings, right? In addition to the initial kickoff meetings that you're having as a team, check in with each other once a week, twice a week, every couple of weeks, whatever is needed. Set up that cadence depending on the intensity of the project, and do that to help keep the project on track and ensure that if there are problems that are surfacing, now you have a space to really connect and find ways to solve for them. Gonna pause there and welcome the panelists to underscore anything that might have been shared, or also share what might have not been covered with the onboarding and other tips. Diane.
Yeah, I want to say that one of the things that I get a lot is people who call me, especially when we're looking for final reports. You know, you didn't turn in a final report, you're asking for more money, and we don't have the final report. And they'll say, so-and-so left our organization, we have no idea what this grant was for. I mean, that happens so many times. That's why I think that it is so important to share this information. I have to really underline that, because they can't find the original proposal. Nobody knows what the money came in for. So that's just not a good way to start. The other thing is that project management. I love project management. That was where I kind of started my work really with HCF, was managing all kinds of special projects. And I took a little class, a $99 class, about project management. And I think that it's super important. And, when we're reviewing proposals, we're really looking to see, do you have the capability to manage this project, to implement it? You have all these ideas, but can you actually step through those actions, the deadlines, get the work done?
I want to just jump off of Diane's project management thing, because I also think that's huge. Hawaii Community College has a course on it. There's others who provide trainings. We used to, when I was at a nonprofit organization, provide project management training. It was like fun. We would have teams or organizations on a basketball court, and basically they would lay out their project in terms of what step goes first, that leads to what, who's doing this piece, and that kind of thing. And then you end up having basically a critical path laid out for your project that can then be turned into like the Gantt charts that Ashley was talking about. But however you do it, I think it's critical that you actually go through some kind of exercise like that. Relative to that, the issue of onboarding the team, I think is really critical. That, like in construction projects, they have partnering. So basically you bring all the players together and you go in detail through what the proposal is about, what the outcomes are, and you actually go deep to make sure that everyone actually understands what you're actually after, how to behave, how to act, what to say, all of those kinds of things. The last thing I'll share is we used to have fun at the nonprofit I worked at, because we had 2 very large whiteboards and wall space, and we would put everything up there, a visual representation of what we're doing, the timeline, and that kind of thing. I think the online tools that Ashley was talking about is really critical, because especially in this day and age, and then you have documentation that way. This kind of space, whether you call it a strategy room or a war room or a war wall, or whatever you want to call it, provides a visualization of what's actually happening, that you can quickly together sort of see what's going, where the challenges are, what's slowing down. You can pull your partners in very quickly so they can quickly see a visual of what's going on and how they can help you with that. So I just want to share those couple of tips.
And I want to kind of take this conversation and kind of put a mirror on it. I think a lot of what we've talked about focuses on the staff organization, the board, the people involved in implementing. I've also, this is like a next level idea and piece of advice around bringing the people who you are serving or engaging into the process of it, right? And I'll give really discrete examples. In a social services context, we had a program engaging immigrant families who were sending their kids to high schools, right? And it was very typical city funding, contract, deliverables, et cetera, logic model. But it was really important to have the families that we were supporting to understand what the structure of the program is, why it's so important that they go to their parent-teacher conferences, not only to kind of, I think there was a lot of value to it, right? Being able to help them understand kind of the structure of the program and to really see them not just as clients, but as kind of people active in the process, right? We're doing this work to really support them in their families' lives, right? And so that transparency, I think was really important. I think the real challenge is translating this very specific Gantt chart information, and our community members are going to read the proposals, right? So how do we find creative and transparent ways to connect people to the work that we're doing? And I think another example in community organizing work, right? Foundations fund this work. The people are really the core of the work. So whether you're organizing kupuna or young people or workers, to have them understand kind of what the funding is about, because that's really kind of where the power and resources are that are supporting the movement work that we're trying to do together. And I think more importantly, that is an entryway for them to be part of the evaluation, right? Which is a big part of it. Whether you have this very structured evaluation where it's really just capturing the voices, experiences, and impacts to then inform your reporting. You can't be successful on that tail end of outputs unless the folks that you're working with every day understand the structure and not just what the funder is looking for, which is a really simple way to frame it, but more so like, what is it we're trying to do together? And the funding as a means and a tools to get to that outcome. And so very next level, challenges abound, right? I think we're grappling with that in some of our community engagement with this USDA grant example. But to center the work around our values and our principles, it's really important to be able to find a way to do that as our organizations grow.